welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Oded Grober. Thanks for joining me. Today on our program, we'll talk to the author of a book about Jewish advertising in the U.S. A kid with autism performs in a unique competition. And we'll hear about new album releases from Senegal, Syria, and Mali. The series Mad Men made the early days of advertising notoriously famous, but with relatively little attention to the contribution of the people of the book. This is where author Carrie Steinberg comes in with her book Jewish Mad Men, Advertising and the Design of the American Jewish Experience. Very happy to welcome Carrie to our studio. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me here.
So how did you come to this topic? Why did you choose to write about it? Are you the daughter of an admin?
Not at all. I came to the topic because I'm very interested in advertising, and the story of the American Jewish experience has been told through various media. Okay. Film, television, comedy, literature, but it hadn't been told through advertising. And I asked myself, why is that? And it occurred to me that advertising is that singular medium that the public loves to hate. So it's very easy to be dismissive of advertising. Yet we all know that advertising is a really, really influential medium.
Very powerful. Too.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to explore the impact that advertising has had on American Jewish life, as well as how American Jews, their role in shaping Madison Avenue.
And what did you find? How did Jewish Americans find themselves in ad agencies?
So that's an interesting question, because we all know that many Jewish immigrants to the United States began as peddlers, began as shopkeepers, department store owners, working in the garment industry as salesmen. So advertising initially was an industry where advertising agents sold advertising space. So it was sort of a natural for Jews who were primarily working in Jewish media to sell advertising space. So they were salesmen initially.
Right, whether it's garments or ad space.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what happened? I mean, the Jewishness of the business, did it have any role in selling? Because initially, what people were trying to sell is this American dream.
Yes. And
I'm curious about the Jewish aspects of that.
Right. So that's an interesting question, because the American dream is still alive and well today in America. We still have immigrants that are coming to this land of opportunity to pursue the American dream. But I think we have to differentiate between the idea or between the theory of the dream and the practice. And in fact, the American dream seems to be more available to Anglos and to WASPs. At least it used to be that way. It was that way until the 1960s. But people who were different, because their religion was different, because they were of color, the American dream, in theory, was available to them, but in practice it wasn't. But I would say that advertising packaged and sold the American dream, but it wasn't selling an American dream of diversity initially.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But did you find any Jewish elements that found their way into this American dream?
Well, I think that this changes in the 1960s. There was a creative revolution in advertising, and the creative revolution in advertising turned the field on its head. So only in the 1960s, later in the 1960s, do you start to see representations of difference, people of color, because we know that in the late 1960s, you know, it was people began to wear their difference on their sleeve, whereas before it was hidden, and the American dream was really more like you could have a piece of that American dream if you blended in.
In line.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. Now, some of the tools that we know Jews used over the years are humor. Right. First and foremost.
Right.
Did that find its way to the ads that they came up with?
Well, it depends what you think of as funny. So I can give you an example of Jewish humor. There was a Jewish advertising agency by the name of Joseph Jacobs, established in 1919 and still around to this day. And I don't think that the general public would have found their ads humor. For example, one ad that comes to mind was one for Whitney's yogurt. And the copy says something like rich, healthy, and kosher. It's either the son-in-law you've always dreamed of, or it's Whitney's yogurt. Now, for people in the know, like Jews, in their media, they would have laughed. I don't think that kind of humor would have found its way into the mainstream press.
Were there specific products or services that Jewish admin would cater to? I mean, obviously kosher foods, but other stuff as well?
Right. So what's interesting is that one of my chapters in the book is called A Portrait of American Jewish Life, and I was looking at regional Jewish journals. And what was interesting were the kinds of products and services that were being promoted early on versus later on. So in the early 20th century, you have patent medicines, you have advertisements for pianos, for organs, for different restaurants, services also including like embalming for funeral preparation, which was not customarily Jewish, and Easter ads. But this changes at the end of the 20th century when the Jews become, when advertising in these publications, in these Jewish publications, becomes more specifically Jewish.
Well, it's a very interesting story, and you know, maybe a spin-off for Mad Men. I don't know. Just a thought I'm throwing out there.
One of the things that I don't do in the book is look at it in a comparative way. So it would be very interesting to actually sort of analogize what was happening in Israel alongside what was happening in the U.S. And I'm also interested in mad Jewish graphic designers.
Next time.
Right, next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now to something a little different. The autism spectrum disorder is a group of developmental disabilities that can cause significant social, communication, and behavioral challenges. Muhammad Salman from Jerusalem suffers from this disability, and his family chose music therapy as a way to help him improve his interaction skills. Daniel Campos and David Yakin met with a young pianist and his mother to learn more about the role of music in his life.
Jerusalem. We are at the Louis and Tilly Alpert Youth Music Center, established by the Jerusalem Foundation in 1979, thanks to the generosity of Dave Mimi and their brother, legendary jazz musician Herb Alpert. Since its founding, the highlight of its activities are those that work to bring Jewish and Arab youth closer together. And it is precisely in this place that we meet 6-year-old Muhammad Salman, who suffers from autism spectrum disorder, a developmental disability that can cause significant social, communication, and behavioral challenges. There is often nothing that sets Muhammad apart from other people, but people with ASD may communicate, interact, behave, and learn in ways that are different from most other people. Noura, Muhammad's mother, has opted for music as a form of therapy for her son.
I decided about 2 years ago. I heard that music therapy is very helpful for ASD children, with kids, for kids with the communication problems. And I decided to give it a try. We did. He started, and then at the beginning he played drums. He liked it a lot, but I thought it was too loud for him, and too much, you know. So we tried piano, and he loved piano, and he has a very good ear for music, and just flowing.
People with ASD often have different ways of learning, paying attention, or reacting to things.
They don't teach them notes and, you know, keynotes and music. They give them like a little bit about everything. They let them try different instruments. They see what they feel more comfortable with. Because some ASD children are very hyper and some are not. Hamoud is not. He's very calm. Does help. I felt the difference. Because now he interacts with the teacher, and he tells him when he's wrong, and he, you know, there's interaction. So that's what we're looking for.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Omar, Muhammad's instructor, is proud to prepare Muhammad for his participation in the Golden Keys competition.
It has really helped Mohammed. He has improved in his playing, and his listening is good. Therefore, he is now playing a second show this year. His first show left people impressed. This time, he will play 2 songs.
The talent show begins, and the kids take the stage one by one to perform a song, while anxious Mohammed waits for his turn while enjoying the performances ahead. Gerard Genasia, the founder of the Golden Keys competition, is proud to welcome participants like Mohammed to the first edition of the event in Israel.
This is not the first time that we cast candidates with this disability, but music has the power to bring something unique that helps to overcome their problems. And this is something we bring which is exceptional.
It is Mohammed's turn to perform on stage. Oriental piano accompanied by Omar on the darbuka. The song is short but precise. He shows no signs of stress or nervousness. The delivery is a success, and Mohammed will go home with a prize, after the panel of judges have awarded him with 3rd place. Standing proud of receiving his award, we can be reassured of the positive impact of musical therapy.
Cute kid. In a moment, we'll hear about some new music releases, but first, here's our cultural recommendation for today.
For a long time, they were considered simple crafts, but here comes an exhibition that provides explanations. The Masters of Sculpture from the Ivory Coast is the first exhibition that Quay Branly dedicated to this East African country. It allows viewers to appreciate these sculptures while also delivering the context, taking the viewer on a journey between different ethnic groups of the country, learning to distinguish the different aesthetics of the region. Senufo, Lobi, Guro, Dan, Baule. The ethnic groups of the Ivory Coast each have artistic and technical peculiarities, often unknown to the Western public. In the exhibition, you can also discover contemporary artists, transnational African artists, for whom the exposure of their work honors their ancestors, proving that African sculpture is far from belonging to the past and also belongs to this new generation.
Daniel Campos is already in the studio, ready to take us on a musical journey around the world. Campos, we're all yours.
Great. So what about if we start out in Senegal? Sheikh Lo, veteran musician from the Baifal, we can say, sect of the Sufi people in Senegal. 5th album, Balbalou is the name. Great sounds. Let's have a listen.
Sounds catchy. He has a great sense of style, I can say that much.
Well, that's part of the sect he belongs to. They have dreadlocks. They're like the Rastafarians in Senegal, pretty much, the Baifal. And this album has a strong message against Boko Haram, you know. He's a Sufi Muslim. He does not like the extremism type of Islam, which you have very present today in many areas in West Africa. We also have a new album, which is very interesting, by Omar Suleiman from Syria. He couldn't film the video in Syria, so he did it in Turkey. It's hipsters.
Close enough. Let's watch.
شريد اساوي القلب حبك شريد اساوي القلب حبك خذيتي عقلي اموت بربك خذيتي عقلي.
Is he located in Syria? I mean, is he stayed in Syria throughout the?
You know, he's been touring the world, Europe, United States. This video he recorded in Turkey. I heard he's been staying away from Syria. It's too dangerous. He brought most of his family to Turkey due to this. But Omar Suleiman, his 4th album.
Huge name.
Huge name among the hipsters, produced by a DJ, Fortet from France. So yeah, this is another big album. Another album to look forward to is by another veteran group, Terrakaft, a Tuareg band from Mali, releasing their 5th band, Tenere, which in Kel Tamashek means alone.
Something for everyone, Daniel. Thanks so much.
You're welcome with it.
We end today's show with a tribute to film composer James Horner, who died on Monday in a plane accident. Horner was known for composing music for such films as Apollo 13 and Braveheart, and for his collaboration with James Cameron, which included, of course, Titanic. We end with a few notes from the song My Heart Will Go On from that film, which Horner composed.